Charles Hoskinson. Charles, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. What's going on with crypto?
Well, the markets are holding steady and stable. I mean, overall, we've been recovering since 2022 in the FTX crisis, and it's going to take a little bit more time for it to clear out. But I'd rather be a crypto guy than a banker right now.
Really? Are people losing interest in crypto?
Crypto is okay. Banks, not so much.
Why? Tell me about the banks.
Well,
First Republic?
Yeah, 2008, we had $373 billion in tied up assets. I think we're over $540 billion now. Just in the 2023 crisis, we're just getting started. I mean, that whole business model is falling apart when you give it a little bit of a push and then you lose these institutions like SVB, and they get so politicized and they get so globalized and they kind of get pushed into different philosophies. So it's nice to be in crypto land where things are simple and pure and you can just focus on building.
I don't know how simple it is because we're about to get new regulations, we think, and we're going to get new regulations for the banks. Is this the answer? I mean, Joe Biden just the other day said, look, we're going to make sure that we have tougher rules for the regionals and tougher rules for these smaller banks. Can you do a stroke, pardon me, for all of the banks, the same regulations for the global money centers than you do for the regionals?
No, you can't.
No, right?
And what's going to happen is too big to fail. It's just going to lead to bigger institutions. We've seen this story in 2008, and this is the rerun. And I don't think anybody wants to watch it, but, well, we elected the same people, and now we're dealing with the same consequences. I mean, if you widen the aperture for the global markets, though, people are moving on. The Europeans are moving on with MiCA. The Asians are moving on. And overall, the global regulatory environment for cryptocurrencies is getting better, especially in very competitive jurisdictions like the GCC. So
that may not be the case, though, longer term, right? Because the U.S. is trying to come up with a new framework of regulations, and we don't even know which agency is going to be regulating it. Is it the SEC? Is it another department? What do you think?
It's hard to say. The United States has always had the most fragmented and fractured regulatory system. We have state regulators, we have federal regulators, we have the CFTC, the SEC, the FinCEN.
Exactly.
So many. It's a word salad of acronyms. And we live in this bizarre Schrodinger's cat where you're alive and dead at the same time. You're a commodity and a security at the same time, sometimes a currency, sometimes a loyalty point. But, that's just how things work here. And it's okay because these are global markets. And so what's going to happen is we're just going to have to focus abroad when there's uncertainty in the United States. And that's to the detriment of our national security and our economy as a whole.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have Charles Hoskinson saying he'd rather be a crypto guy than a banker, saying that this current business model was falling apart. And guys, we know exactly the reason why. Blockchain and these digital assets will change up the banking system. And he talks about the U.S. and he clearly says this is a global economy. And we know the emerging markets are leading us into the fourth industrial revolution. That's the reason why Cardano is heavily invested in Africa. We know all about the digital ID. And he's asked about the climate agenda. And we know the NWO wants to destroy the current way we do energy only in the West. We know the East is impossible. But with the climate agenda, we know they're able to control the masses. And then, guys, we have Sam Altman on CNBC. And we see the NWO is ready to push the agenda. Remember, in 2025, everything is going to be here. So basically, you only have a year and a half. And basically, Sam Altman says the new society, the new world. And we know AI, robots, algorithms, and drones are about to take over this economy. And that's the reason why the people are going to be sitting at home getting free money. Universal basic income. And we know Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, they're all nothing but puppets, but their job is to move the agenda. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
If ESG means we're going to destroy your business model in order to fit an agenda, you're just not going to get good returns. And so it just depends on how you define it, and depends on who are the actors involved and what are you trying to do. I mean, we all want to live in a healthier, cleaner world, and we'd all like to love each other and be happy with each other and have equality. But on the other hand, business is business, and there are winners and losers in capitalism.
I mean, should we be avoiding fossil fuels, though? I mean, that's the issue here.
Yeah, you see, I live in Wyoming, and we're the coal capital of the frontier, and there are many great resources in the fossil fuel markets that can be made quite sustainable and practical for the foreseeable future for our energy security. So I've never believed it's wise to just wholesale ban fossil fuels. You just have to be wise about the application of them and how you roll these things out. And unfortunately, we tend to have an overreaction in energy policy, particularly around coal, but also oil, natural gas, and other fossil fuels, where there's just some political groups that say we should ban it regardless of the cost or consequences to our economy.
Well, this administration that's the priority. I mean, they're pushing this in a whole of government's approach, as you know.
Right, and replacing it with things that are much more expensive. They're not base load power. We still haven't solved the storage because we're using batteries, which are much more environmentally unfriendly. So, there's a lot of problems with this, and, that creates a lot of economic uncertainty, and ultimately it just hurts Main Street. It doesn't hurt the rich people here at Milken.
Show before, it's the fourth industrial revolution. It's this was like going from mankind to horses, and probably more appropriately from horses, the transition to automobiles, which took 50 years to complete. This is probably going to happen in 5 years, Andrew, and it's going to disrupt the lives of 100 million working families, between now and 2030. And if we do it right, there'll be another 100 million or plus jobs that come in, and we'll train them properly. If we do it wrong, it won't just be black and brown people who have pain. It'll be my poor white brothers and sisters. This is like Dr. King all over again in the civil rights movement, where he talked to all of God's children about what I call the color green. Last night was probably one of the most important meetings I hosted ever because of the implications. I'm very hopeful because a guy like Sam is on point, and Sam called me and said, let's do this meeting. It wasn't my idea, it was his. We had talked about it, but he took the initiative. To go from the White House to our house was quite dramatic.
Sam, you've been working on this on ChatGPT on one end, but also talking about the need for universal basic income on the other. How intertwined are those two ideas?
Somewhat, but I think it's important to say that although I think universal basic income is an interesting policy and well worth exploring, it is only a partial solution. I think people will still need all of the other reasons that they work, and there will be plenty of jobs and all sorts of new ways we spend our time, new ways we create value for each other. I think human desire for feeling useful and status and differentiation and making incredible new things and creating is not going to go anywhere, no matter what technology we develop. But I think if we can eliminate poverty with a better policy than we have now, and if we have a new way to share the tremendous wealth we're all about to create, I'm very interested in that. I just don't think it's the whole solution.
Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people.
Not necessarily to the singularity, but when machines become really, really, really powerful, and we don't really understand at that point what might happen, and you've seen some of the end of humanity type fears that have been expressed by some pretty smart people. Could we build in a safeguard to make sure 20, 30, 40 years from now that humans aren't completely superfluous to machines? Is that something that you've thought about? I mean, I've read some science fiction. Is it impossible?
I mean, the reason that we started this effort is because of these questions. I think getting this right, figuring out the new society that we want to build, how we're going to integrate this technology is, I think, one of the most important questions of our time. And I'm very happy to be here with John starting this tour because figuring out how we want to build this for people that are not just sort of the people in the Bay Area, figuring out what people want this new world to look like, how the technology should work, how we should set the rules around it, how we want to use it, how we do the thing that works for the people of the world as a whole. Figuring that out now is really important. We can decide anything we want. We collectively, society, not we OpenAI. There will be regulation. There will be many different versions of this that work. and we will have in the coming years a very rigorous discussion about how we're going to integrate this technology into our lives. And we can build in all sorts of safeguards, we can build in all sorts of rules, but if we don't have this discussion with a very broad group of people, we will build something that a small slice of humanity wants rather than what humanity as a whole wants.
Hey,
John,
Andrew.
yes, go ahead.
I was about to say that, look, you mentioned a name that's been, observant of what Sam's doing. I think if they were doing it themselves, they would probably trust themselves to do it now. And I trust Sam to do it now. I think there's a little competitive envy going on here, which is to be expected. Sam has something that a lot of tech leaders don't have. I say this very respectfully. He's got IQ and EQ. Some leaders have a blind spot called people. And we're not human doings, we're human beings, which is really what Joe was referring to. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Energy and people matter. And if we don't do this exactly right, we're not listening to the right people in the right ways, we will win the battle and lose the war. We do this right, and we push the whole, really, civilization forward. We have to bring everybody with us. I think that Sam's the only tech leader I'm aware of that went into the underserved community ever with a new technology like this, to listen and not just talk and say, help me make this better, almost like a moral bill of rights, which is what this is. We probably need that as much as we need regulation. Right. And I think that this community can help him do that.
Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people.
What did you think when you saw that Elon Musk had signed that letter saying that there should be a 6-month sort of pause or moratorium on the development of AI?
Well, I don't think the letter called for a pause on development. It called for a pause in one direction of development, which is sort of scaling up the biggest models. I understand where people who sign that are coming from, and I understand the very real cause for anxiety about the speed with which things are moving. But I think that in particular is an unnuanced policy. And what we should talk about instead is what sort of evals and practices and systems and technology development do we need in place to ensure continued safety.
One of the reasons I asked is because, of course, he co-founded this with you and now seems to be on the other side competing with you, right?
Yeah, as far as I understand it.
So what is that relationship like now?
Fine. I mean, people do this stuff sort of.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.